Hello, Juice County. Welcome to ITZ Happenin show. Reloaded. I am Jose, and I am joined by Dylan Thompson.
Hello.
We have a fantabulous, amazing, magical,
etc.
but a little sad
Oh.
show tonight. Mexico!
Why?
Why? But no, it's going to be an amazing show because we have the one and only Councilwoman Jessie Lopez on Santana.
Woo!
It's going to be happening to the fullest and full effect. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a while. Been busy.
It's been a hot second.
Doing
yeah.
campaigns and stuff. Doing the Lord's work.
Yeah.
And also just big chilling.
The harvest season has come around.
Yes.
And, yeah.
And the laborers.
And the laborers are few.
Yeah, but, you know, we're getting up there. But, yeah, no, it's been really a crazy first half of the year, this political year that we find ourselves in. But, man, we'll get into all things politics with Jessie and everything. But first, but most importantly, how are you doing, Dylan?
Oh my gosh, I'm good, man. I am tired though. I mean, because you know you can have so many nights of sleep where you're woken up by fireworks at like 4 a.m. and stuff. There's been a lot of cause for celebration, as we'll get into.
I know, and that was even outside of the 4th of July festivities. I mean, we live in Santana, so this is like
it's expected.
1 month before and 1 month afterwards
big time.
is pretty much is to be expected.
But the intensity this year. There's a new level of intensity this year.
Yeah, but I gotta say, it felt good to on 4th of July be like, those aren't fireworks. I mean, those are fireworks. Those aren't gunshots. So there's that. No, but seriously, hope everybody had a great weekend and such. But America turned 250 years old. Happy birthday, America.
I don't know. Are we doing good?
It's like, I heard there was a big fair in D.C.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It was,
dozens of people showed up to celebrate.
Dozens and dozens to take a look at the swamp that has been growing there.
Yeah.
Both like inside,
it is literal and figurative.
And then also in the swimming pools.
Indeed.
That are millions of dollars of our taxpayer money are going to
big time
do God knows what for. But it's a metaphor. I love metaphors. But no, it's what's really, of course, the hot news of the moment right now is the World Cup fever. And it has hit North America like nothing has hit it before.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, it's been every 4 years we go through this whole experience where our hopes are put up to the sky, as far as Mexico fans, only for them to just be like savagely and tragically just, cut like kneecapped with a bat.
Yeah.
And then this year the bat was made by the British. So it was, alas, but you know what? Let's focus on the positive moments right now.
Indeed.
It was a cultural moment in the history of the world. It was a moment where the Mexican flag was flown proudly, and folks, really got to see the beauty, the joy, the passion that comes with football, as we call it. But it's called soccer here. We're the only country that calls it soccer. And we're kind of special like that.
Number one.
Yeah, but but it's also a competition to see which country has the best black players. So
okay, hey, that's going in your stand-up routine. Okay, hi-yo.
It's not mine. I saw it on a comment section somewhere. But
all right, well, giving credit.
Where else do comedians find their best jokes?
Chat, as usual.
Aside from chat
thank
GPT
you.
nowadays.
Yeah.
But yeah, the World Cup is now officially over for Canada, Mexico, and as of tonight, the U.S., which went down 4-1 what is it? A blaze of fury and glory and fire and
as you'd like to.
Yeah.
Not a whimper, but an explosion like a firework. Perhaps.
And Trump tried his darnest to get them to tilt the scales in favor. Of course, there was a red card that was issued to one of the players that was then kept, but he was able to play today. Interesting note on that, that person was one of the people that was born here. Like his mother was pregnant and had to, but was born, was on a plane, was supposed to go to London, ended up having to be forced to disembark in the United States, was born here, became a citizen as a result. But those kinds of folks would not be allowed to, give birth anymore if Stephen Miller and all of the immigrants, anti-immigrant folks have their way.
Right.
But it's really interesting to see how so many of the countries that are so anti-immigrant, so if you play soccer or sports really well, hey, you're welcome.
You're good. Yeah, apparently.
But yeah,
it was a huge cultural moment here, like in downtown. It was insane. Like hundreds of people took over the street. Every victory, I'm not exactly following it, but I was aware it was happening because it was so. I live in in the area, and so just seeing it. So many people come down, hundreds. It's probably thousands, actually, right? It wasn't hundreds, there's thousands. And I actually respect how the police didn't intervene for the most part. And they just stayed back and let the revelry happen. And it was just over because it's, look, it's over now. I mean, there would have only been 2 more games. I think we can handle that once every 4 years. So it's a fair way to treat that.
Go figure that we did better than Newport Beach, right?
Yeah. Yeah, which also, I did want to say, speaking of patriotism, there was more patriotism for Mexico this year, around this time, because I was seeing everyone in the Mexican colors walking around for the soccer. But it's funny you mentioned that, the Newport Beach, right? The Balboa Peninsula. It was a TikTok takeover, right? Where probably hundreds, if not maybe thousands again, of teens and young people descended on there and basically started rioting.
They're like, let's fucking go, bro.
Yeah.
To the beach we march. And then, they started looting businesses, just firing fireworks at each other. And then the horses came out.
Yeah, and then... there was a 17-city, a cooperative effort of police departments to make, 400 arrests?
Yeah.
So it was a pretty significant operation. Yikes.
Yeah.
But come on, it's Independence Day. They're a bunch of kids. It's they've had their own little revolution. Maybe it wasn't for any good reason. At least the soccer people or the football people, they had a reason, right? That was just pure chaos. But anyway. No,
it was really, it was a great World Cup for Mexico. We leave it with our heads held high. And we'll see what happens in 4 years, but it's just it's incredible. Now we'll see how Colombia does tomorrow. And we've got a lot of friends of the show, Colombianos, that are going to be just really nervous, as I was yesterday, just waiting for a goal, and it was and it's just it's being surrounded by like I said, all the joy and having a new generation of people, just sharing in that. A public, display of pride of their ethnicity, of their nationality, or that of their parents, and and just really coming together. And of course, and Mexico was the best of the 3 host countries for sure. So there goes that. But
I was curious why this time, because I didn't notice this 4 or 8 years ago, it being this intense. And I'm wondering if it's because they hosted or the Western Hemisphere hosted.
Yeah, nobody was trying to go to Qatar, right?
And maybe they're playing in a time zone that is just more conducive to Western audiences being around to party and see it live, perhaps.
It just doesn't hit the same to be drunk at 9 a.m. Just
it's I've done it, trust me, but no.
I was there
this morning, but I get it.
Yeah.
But just one other interesting fact is that I think 40 years ago, Mexico had a very good performance. Maybe they got to the quarterfinals. So this is a historic performance.
It had been 40 years since they've gotten past the 4th game.
Yeah, so they were very close. I guess they've been stuck in the round of 16 for 40 years. But this was their best performance, win-wise, points-wise, in 40 years. And then in 1970, I think they also went to the quarterfinals. So, but in each of those cases, they hosted. So I think there's a real thing to this home court advantage, this cultural moment you're talking about. It really affects people and it affects their performance because that's when they played the best.
Yeah, last night was the first time that Mexico's ever lost in a World Cup, and at home. So it was a lot of firsts in this one. Mm-hmm. But I think what we're saying and that it should always be World Cup should always take place in Mexico. We bring the best fans, the most fans. They said the amount of money that countries would have lost if if Mexico would have not qualified. for, it would have been in like the hundreds of millions
Oh,
of
really?
dollars. So it's like, yeah,
So,
we never
yeah,
win, but
significant.
we are winners.
There you go.
So yeah, it was,
Yeah.
it was, sometimes it's not, it wasn't about like the win. It was about the friends and memes we made along the way. And God knows there was a lot. So
Yeah, there you go.
in any case,
Yeah.
let's move on.
Moving on. I think we should cut a couple of these because we had so much fun on the World
we
Cup.
did. It was.
We did.
But no, let's just,
Yeah, I think just first quickly touching on like is that how Islamo-communism is prevailing now in New York.
yeah.
No kidding. That's what they're fearing it is, but it's like, dude, they're like democratic socialists. It's fine. Like there's a spate of candidates that won. I think it was federal and state level seats or elections at least.
Yeah, Mamdani has really shown out when it comes to his endorsements and the amount of energy behind, these, non-status quo, like pushing the envelope candidates, and very much something that we hope can be replicated in other places, including Southern California. But
Oh yeah,
of course, New York is New York, and California is California.
it could be a special.
We're
yeah.
massive of a state, but it can be done. But yeah,
Indeed, and hopefully we see some results because like not all of the I don't like all of the DSA candidates that have come out because it's about what you do at the end of the day. Like it doesn't actually matter who you came, where you came from, or whatever. I think it matters the results you get. I mean, where you came from does matter. Don't get me wrong, but like it matters about the results. So. Mamdani has done stuff already, by the way. Like he has fulfilled campaign promises already. He already got that 2-year rent freeze going on.
that's right.
Among other victories that he promised. So
All the potholes.
and maybe I don't agree with all of his policies or whatever, but like when you deliver, and then that's what you say about that person. Because the people who say everything and then they don't come through on it, they're all talk, and then I just feel like they end up fizzling. Whereas I think Mamdani has like a real future to his career. And yeah, just going into this election stuff, another person who promises things and delivers, Vince Sarmiento.
Ooh.
Going into the election recap.
Vicente con la gente. Yeah, that was an incredibly surprising, perhaps, and not surprising that he got 50%, above 50%,
Yeah.
but that, he came out like from the gate at 65%. I think, folks were kind of, including myself, just shocked at how well it was. But as you start to think about it, you really see that, the ways in which he has really shown himself to be against anti-corruption and really ahead of it when it came to the Andrew Doe corruption scandal. Of course, hi Andrew, if you're watching us from prison, stay there.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, 65.89% the official tally, 56,000. The next closest was Kimberly Davis at 13%. Yeah, and then
It's pretty nuts.
James Wallace, who the sheriffs dropped, I believe, over 100K, just was able to muster 8,000. So that's just pathetic. And of course, Nelida Mendoza, who is just cannot ride off into the sunset, got into a 10%. So yeah,
that's pretty crazy.
That was pretty crazy.
By the way, when I ran into Vince, he the first thing he said to me about that result is he offered advice to his opposition how they could have done better. It's like, okay. No room for bragging. It's just like, this is what, thanks.
Yeah.
That was helpful. Thanks.
Yeah. So, I mean, there was a lot of different races that happened around, and, some surprises, some not, some expected kind of things. Of course, the Tom Steyer versus Becerra, the guy that had all of the special interests were behind. That guy, he won, and so it'll be between him and the Republican, whose name will go, inside. But
darn it!
Of course, it was totally rigged. He was winning, and then all of a sudden, you get these made ballots, and then he wins. So Trump is like losing his shit over California and over a lot of things,
that happens.
Some things less important than others. But yeah, it'll be still Hilton versus Becerra in November, and that'll be one to watch. But but yeah, I just want to go ahead and just jump straight into what we are all here for, and that is our great guest here tonight. Because as the official numbers state, it was Jessie Lopez that was shy by just was it 700?
I think it's 801.
801 votes to the first place. Almost took it, but man, the election was tight on election night. It was actually no, it was really sad when we first saw the numbers. But I remembered when Sarmiento was down by a couple thousand on election night, and I felt, you know what? I don't think this is over. People are sad, but I'm not sad. I think there's a hope. I believe, I said.
I believe there's a letter out there. There's mail somewhere.
Yeah.
There's a box. Oh, we didn't open that box yet. You know,
it's like, ooh, we found
3,000 votes
here.
in there. Oops, sorry.
No, it was, slowly but surely as each drop, revealed that there was the gaining of momentum. A lot of the late voters were coming in, and all of them, most all of them were coming to Jessie.
Yeah.
So she was able to place in the top 2 and get past the Republican. And so it'll be a Dem-on-Dem violence going on in the general election. So without further ado, I want to welcome to the show Santa Ana's Councilwoman and the candidate for AD 68, the people's candidate for AD 68, Jessie Lopez. Welcome to the show.
Hi guys. Thank you.
J Lo in
Welcome.
his house. Yeah.
Okay.
Friend of the show. You've been on the show before, Jessie.
No, I haven't.
No, you've been a viewer of the
Yes.
show. Yeah.
I haven't been on the show.
Yeah.
Now we have to get your whole backstory.
I had to earn my invitation.
Well, you have.
You had to win a couple of races, as it turns out. 3 of them.
I had to win a recall, all of that.
Jeez, ouch.
Man.
Yeah, where were we?
Yeah.
Yikes.
It's this guy's fault.
Uh-oh, yeah. No, election
schedule is
season
terrible.
again. Yeah.
No, but we're so happy to have you on. It's been a long
you.
time coming, and we just have all sorts of things to talk to you about.
Indeed.
Of course, this most recent election, but man, you've just been kicking special interest's butt, like
Yes.
every 2 years, as it turns out. So
Yeah.
I know.
yeah, but I'm sure you would have preferred to not have to deal with this, and so we're with taxpayers when it comes to the recalls that were waged by your opponents, special interests. But now you're dealing with the larger special interests at the statewide, and it's a whole other beast, right? So. But before we get into the politics, I'd love for you to just share a little bit about your background, how did your upbringing and what made you want to get into this crazy world of politics.
Okay. Well, thank you. Born and raised here in Santana, and college really did change the trajectory of my life. I was working, in a corporate setting at a law firm. And then I realized, well, if I want to climb the corporate ladder, I have to go back and pursue higher education. And so when I finally decided to do that, and being at Cal State Long Beach, I decided that I really wanted to be involved on campus. And one of the things that I started to get involved with was the cultural centers there. And you quickly notice, right, they're all the way in a secluded building, all the way in the back, no printing paper. The roof is falling off. There's like rats there. And this is where the Black Student Union is. This is where the Latino clubs are. This is where the Native American students hang out. And so again, it was a community built by students that were looking, I think, to feel or have like a semblance of home, something familiar. But a part of that was that there was all these other issues that the institution itself wasn't necessarily addressing. And so we just started talking as students, saying, why can't art students have access to computer and art programs here at the cultural centers instead of having to wait in line at the library or, all those things that we need as students. And so we started to talk and we started to, I guess, make noise. And so we started to hear things from the administration. And one of the other issues that I got really involved with on school campus was really fighting to bring awareness to all of the sexual assault that was happening on campus and off campus. And with all of the art students that we knew, we actually held a demonstration at the, Free free speech plaza there. And so we had these silhouettes of women, and at the bottom there would be a fact of how many women are faced with these issues on a daily basis. And we were not going to say anything, and we just stood there and we held up the silhouettes, and students that were passing were, stopping and reading the factual information on that piece of art. And the school paper actually covered it, and it helped to the administration being more responsive, and actually us saying to them, we want to know in real time what's going on, because we're on campus up until midnight, and we need to know where these incidents are happening. And even if they're at, off campus at parties, we are students that also go to those things, so we should be aware. And so it really, I think it fulfilled me in a different way that being in a 9-to-5 office setting had not made me feel. And I recognize that I want to graduate and I want to find out what is actually happening in my city. What are the organizations that are fighting for the things that I care about, and how can I get involved and lend my support? And that's really kind of, how I ended up working on my first campaign here, protecting public land, fighting for affordable housing, and supporting responsible development. And through that process, I had to go and speak at the Garden Grove City Council, Santa Ana City Council, and there's a moment just seared in my mind that I'm never going to forget. And we had, I believe it was like an interim city manager by the name of Steven Mendoza at the time, and the council members were up there asking questions, and he said to them, if you would have read your staff report, you would know. And so I'm sitting there in the chamber,
Wow.
and I'm looking at these people up there and recognizing, wow, they're not reading, the packets that they're being given. And if, those people can be up there, why can someone like myself that is actually going to work incredibly hard to get things done, run for office and represent my community? So in a nutshell, that's, kind of how I ended up here.
That totally makes sense. Like the school environment is a kind of a microcosm of the kind of political activism, sphere, because it's like a journalism, like school administration, and then your like activism all played a role. I guess that gave you a taste of it. I was wondering if you ran into our dear friend Jose Moreno at any point at Long Beach, because
No, I actually didn't even know who he was when I was a student.
Okay.
I learned about him afterwards when I got like fully immersed into politics.
Okay.
And so that's when I learned, oh my God, he's, he teaches there. But I had a professor by the name of Dr. Lara, Eduardo Lara. And I still stay in touch with him. And, he was super supportive. I loved the program that I did at Long Beach. It wasn't just about reading a book and writing an essay. It was about, your capstone was you have to be involved in the community, pick a project.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And so that's ultimately how I also ended up supporting the campaign of Stand with Women Against Abuse. And it had launched in Long Beach at that time, and it was fighting for panic buttons for the women that worked in the hotel industry. And that was something that was super, super important to me, because my mom had clean rooms in the Anaheim hotel industry. And the stories that she would share with me were just really devastating. And so that was something that I was really proud to support.
That's cool. That's very awesome. So it sounds like you got into more political advocacy or activism, and you decided at that meeting I could run.
Yeah.
Did that click for you as something you're gonna do now, or like how did you manifest that?
No, because that meeting happened in 2019, 2018, 19 is when we were already organizing. And so I think it was a thought, but there was no one in my life that I could turn to and say, how do I do this, right? Like, I don't come from a political dynasty. I don't come, from the House of Labor. So, and, for my parents, speaking up, being involved in politics, they saw back home people get kidnapped. And so when I first approached them, they were like, what is it that you want to do?
Right.
And like, what does that actually mean? And so, I remember, and I also remember like telling a friend of mine who was my roommate at the time, and he kind of just like laughed at me, But again, it's because, I didn't see people like myself reflected in politics growing up. And so it almost feels like it's really hard to reach these spaces. And it can be, right? Financially, just having the time to campaign and doing all that it requires. Oh, yeah. But I think ultimately it was something that I think was a curious thought, and ultimately approaching some of the friends that I had organized here with, having community support when I asked them, hey, is this something that you would be willing to support me? And again, when I announced and when people found out, I mean, they straight up told me to my face, you're never going to win here. And we've been winning since 2020,
Well, that's an interesting, because I think a lot of people would have thought that, because the district you're in is perceived as because it includes Floral Park, I believe.
I mean, it's really diverse, the district.
But I'm saying people's perception of it is that it's a very conservative voting bloc, and it might not be as conservative as people think. But if you look at the numbers, it's kind of like, So people have this conception there that... but I mean, it's not just that neighborhood, though. There's like Cabrillo Park, and there's a lot of neighborhoods.
There's a lot of neighborhoods. Yeah. There's a lot of need, obviously, very diverse opinions. But I think the misconception has been, right, that all is well up in North Santa Ana, and that nothing needed to change. And that was not the reality of many people that lived in that district. And they wanted to see more attention to their own neighborhoods, more attention to parks, more attention to community support. And so those are the things that we've been able to really focus on. It's the platform that we ran on, and it's how we got elected.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of want to go over your elections quickly if we can, because the first one is really interesting, because it was kind of like you won by a good amount, but like your opposition was split into like 3 camps.
Yeah.
So people could have said, it was just a fluke. Like next time around, she'll lose by like 5%, and then the next person's going to come in. But what was the takeaway from that? Like, what do you think got you to rise above that mark? Like you said, you had a community support going into it.
Yeah, and we had to. It was also in 2020, so traditional methods of campaigning had been completely just flipped on its head. You couldn't necessarily be out there as much or as early because of the pandemic. So we had to get really, really creative as to how we were going to introduce ourselves to a new community, right? That not a new community for me, but people that had never heard of me or knew nothing of me, or were wondering, who the hell is this young person, right? And what can you possibly do here? And so we had to get really creative. We had to reach out to people that were Democrats, Republicans, and independents, and find that common ground to be able to overcome such a split fields. And so I think that was one of the main worries that we all had, right? Because when it's so fractured, as we've seen in other races, the vote just goes in all sorts of ways. Yeah. But we had to be really specific with people about what is it that we wanted to accomplish for them and their children in our home district.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that if you follow the numbers of your next election, it says it. Wait, the recall happened first, right? Or it was a second election, then the recall?
No, so the recall happened during my first term in 2023, so and then I had to run.
Yeah. I said every 2 years she's running.
Yeah.
So you won 2020.
Yes.
And then 2023, which was literally 6 months or less than a year before you were going to run again.
Yeah.
You had to run a recall. And then soon after that's what was so ridiculous about that whole recall to begin with. Like if you would have just they could have just saved their money and tried to go, out, take you out, in the regular election cycle. Maybe they could have done it, but they like spent all this money, they lost, and then you got all of this. I mean, it's like any publicity is good publicity type of thing. I mean, so like your name was just like through the roof, and then they lost again, or you won, and just shoved it in their face again. So which one felt better? Did the first one feel better, the recall, or like the getting reelected?
They all feel good. Yeah.
Really broad answer, I would say.
No, but they've been all different, right? The first one was about proving to a very broad audience that we know how to campaign, and we can do it in our own way, right? Because we didn't have the party didn't support us, this was a big, I think, talking point of why people thought or completely just wrote me off, saying she doesn't have all this institutional support that people are so used to. So how could you possibly win? And so for us, it's always like, okay, let's see what we can actually do. And so it was good to be able to prove people wrong in 2020. Yeah. In 2023, it was about misinformation campaigns are so incredibly difficult to overcome. It's easy for anyone to say anything, as we just saw with the primary, right? Yeah. And so for us, it was a great win to be able to set almost like a blueprint for other electeds, because now we get reached out to from electeds throughout the entire state that are facing recalls, because we are the only elected to survive a police initiated recall in the entire state of California. Yeah. And so we are able to share our knowledge with other, folks who are at the receiving end of people abusing a process. Even though people will say it's democratic, anyone can do it, right? We know why recalls are being utilized, because the amount of voters is so much more smaller. And so for us, it was a really important moment to say, even when you have all of these conditions in your favor, we are going to outwork you. And that's what we've been able to do.
Yeah, so I mean, I was going to ask about the statistics on these recalls, because Jessie Iglesias didn't survive hers. Like, most people don't survive them, right?
They're really hard.
Yeah, indeed. And okay, so now at your most recent, or not this primary one, but your council election against Jeffrey Katz, you won, I think, by a few percentage points. So since the previous election, you probably gained 15% or 20%. Of the overall vote, you know what I mean? And I'm just kind of thinking, why? Why do you think that many people decided? Because if you looked at the numbers, you could say, oh, maybe, but you convincingly won the recall and the next election when there was not any split opposition.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, that was part of the opposition's plan, right? Put one person up, this person, and it'll be a done deal. And it wasn't. Yeah. For many reasons. And, it was really interesting to hear some of the rhetoric out there, very harmful rhetoric against, Latino kids of my district. And so we understood that this is not someone that, we want to see represent our community. And a lot of people felt that way. I mean, we were getting messages from people, from his own neighborhood, from the entire district, talking about how worried they were, how concerned they were because of how, intimately they've gotten to know someone or the things that they see firsthand. But I think we're able to grow our percentage numbers because of the work that we do, our constituent services. I think a lot of electeds forget that the foundation of this job is customer service. And I come from the customer service world, working at Sephora in downtown Disney, where you're literally told you don't ruin, our customers' experience, right? It's the happiest place on earth. It's open 365 days a year. As a new employee, you have to prove yourself, work all major holidays. And so it was a really grueling position that it was hammered into you, even if you're wrong, the customer is always right. Even if they're wrong, they're always right because don't you like
they are.
you.
The electorate is always right.
And so we have approached our work from that place. And so when someone reaches out, like my job is to acknowledge it, respond, and try and find a solution. And I think that's really what separates me from the pack is people don't always have to agree with me, but they can never say I don't deliver.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I kind of wanted, that was kind of my conclusion, I kind of thought. It's like, oh, you must be listening to people. Because just one interesting observation I had, I was looking at the contributions on your opponent in your upcoming election and your previous primary election, Penaloza, the contributions between you guys. And it's like, he had at the end of the contributions, you can see he had 2 or 3 pages of these small donations, but you had 7 or 8, and it just felt it's because people actually know you. You know what I mean? It seemed like a lot more individual. You're connected to a lot more individual people in the community that support you, and then that not even mentioning kind of bigger money support you get. But
Yeah, I mean, that's a really important point. We had the most amount of monthly contributors to our campaign, the most amount of people from our district contributing to our campaign, really, again, centered in the needs of people, right? We had the most amount of individuals contributing to our campaign. And when you look at those contributions, it's very clear, who's running to represent who.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the math, and it's kind of insane, right? I mean, first of all, like you said, folks that were supporting you were more local than not, and based on progressive, issues. Obviously, you the dichotomy between you and then is very much the establishment, that your opponent represented, and you kind of taking on this AOC Mamdani kind of energy that people are. But also, just with your own touch of, J-Lo, J-Lo magic. Shout out to all the
slogan.
Shout out to the team J-Lo that's watching right now. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about $5.6 million in independent expenditures from Meta, Google, Chevron, big crypto, big landlord, big realtors, big assholes, that get in the way of all the things that we need. And, that's why we can't have nice things in a blue state like California. Why can't we have the things that we desperately need, like rent control for the whole state or rent control for other cities? It's because of people are either in the pockets of special interest or do not dare stand up, and because they're afraid to get recalled or be, to be beaten or, or primaried in the next one. But then if we look at, the cost per vote, it broke down to the amount of money that they spent was $270 per vote versus $65 per vote. So that's what is it?
Even I would spend 5 or
4
6 times,
4 times the amount that they had to spend, and they were only able to squeak out 800 votes above. You were I was thinking, you're gonna go in first place, and I was almost but you got dang close. How does that feel to just look at the numbers and the math and hear that and just say wow, we did that?
We did do that, and it feels really good, right? Because there wasn't $5 million, in corporate money supporting me. It was all attacking me, spreading lies about me, really distorting the truth, and almost trying to manipulate the voters, right? Because and I think that's the really difficult thing of being in politics, that we have allowed corporations to really control how. Sometimes even the outcome of elections, because when you're up against $5 million, and it was way more than that, it's easy for them to drown you out, right? And the question that many people in this community had was why? Why are they so invested in this race? And so it really allowed, I think, for a bigger conversation of how harmful money and politics are, how influential as you were just saying, they are at the state level and at the federal level and in all levels of government, because they can just, and keep in mind, these are some of the same corporations that say they can't pay people a living wage, they can't do X, Y, and Z, but then have all this money to throw and use against the best interests of our own constituents here, right? Because why, so money in politics is a big problem.
Yeah.
And so for us, it really opened up the conversation of saying, well, as a homeowner, you have to face the questions of, will you be insured if, California continues to get hotter and hotter? The way that we've seen other homeowners had to face that dilemma and not get insured, even among, some of the most tragic events like wildfires, right? Oh, yeah. And so people are dealing with so many financial stressors within the insurance industry, the gas industry. Every single thing keeps going up. And so these are the same political players, the special interests, that are telling them, oh, but Jessie over here is the one that wants to raise your cost of living, when they're actively doing it as we speak. And here they are trying to buy this election because they know that with me, I'm not going, my job is to prioritize the people of this district.
Oh, but their flyer said you wanted like $30,000 or
like
something.
600% raise. Girl.
That's a lot.
I'm lucky if I get a 5% raise. What are you talking? No, but I there was just so much laughably like false and just demonstrably like untrue things that they were saying about you. And so, well, now is your time to clear the air. All right. What is the 600% raise about? No, but we know it, but I think it'd be important for you to kind of just share that because, it was just ridiculous and it was redundant. They kept on that
was their best attack.
I was going to bring the stack of papers because I was getting like 1 to 2 every day, but it's like literally like a stack this big of all this trash that these people were sending to us. So like what were some of the hits that you were taking and what's the truth behind them?
Well, they were saying that I don't live here, which is so silly because I'm born and raised here. I mean, one of our volunteers actually knocked on the door of the woman that used to babysit me when I was little. That's how deeply connected I am to this community. And so trying to, again, lie to the voters and say she doesn't live here is a flat out lie. The other one, I think the most prominent one was that I gave myself a 600% raise. And so I had to tell the public, actually, I make $12,000. I make poverty wages as a sitting council member representing a community of over 300,000 people. I cannot afford to live in the district that has elected me, defended me, reelected me on that salary, which is why I work, another small part-time job. And so it wasn't that I gave, and by the way, I don't have the authority to give myself a raise. It was a question that was put to the voters. Do the voters want, council members that are not just part-time, but that can be full-time and be more responsive in real time because there's such a big need here. And that would come, that would also come with raising the wage from 12,000, I think it was 60,000, which is still not a lot of people can survive in Orange County in California.
It's modest still.
And so
60,
65.
Higher, lower income.
No, that's what I used to make way before when I entered politics. So I actually took a massive pay cut by entering politics. And so that was one of the lies that they were saying. And of course, my opponent and all their supporters were like, yeah, she's giving herself a raise. And again, knowing, right, that they're intentionally misleading the public because they sit in those chambers, they got to vote, they got to have a say, and ultimately the residents of Santa Ana said, no, we want you guys to continue making $12,000 a year.
It was really It was sad because it was just like AI slop, right?
It was AI.
My favorite one was you, like on top of like a pile of money, like Scrooge
I didn't-
McDuck status, and you're just like up
Like
there,
swimming through
like,
the
"Woo,
coins."
money!"
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, you're not even like good, like at being creative about this.
I mean, I think it's also just like lazy because you think that you can say whatever you want, but people that are actually struggling in this community and in Orange and in Anaheim are seeing these attacks, right? And they see themselves also reflected, because how dare you try to say that asking for a living wage is the biggest sin of it all, like the biggest crime, when people in this community are struggling to pay their rent, to get by, to provide for their children, and here you're being bombarded on an everyday basis with ads that are just almost like mocking people that are struggling.
Yeah, actually, you're right, because it came off. It was ironic because that's how they were portraying a lot of the material. They would show like an average working person who's like having a hard time getting by, and it's because Jessie wanted $100,000 or whatever it was, like that raise, right? But then it was like, but you're saying that those people can see through that. It's insulting, right?
And it really goes to, I think, highlight how out of touch they are with what is actually happening here.
Also, maybe that's the best they could find on you. That's good. You know what I'm saying? Like, it means they don't have anything, right?
You're like, you're free of scandals.
Yeah,
like,
there you go.
Comparatively.
That saying that I don't pay my rent, which is also false. And then using this previous judgment that they obviously knew that that had been set aside by the judge, the $35,000 judgment, which I don't owe anyone that money. I actually had to defend myself in a court of law, and that's why I don't owe anyone $35,000. And there's legal documentation, and still choosing to spread misinformation, right? And so that really tells you these people are untrustworthy. They're willing to lie to you to your face, and they're willing to say, well, I'm the good guy. No, you cannot be a good elected when you're intentionally lying to the people that you want to represent.
Ooh, boom! Mic draw. Take that. And
I'm gonna read some comments here from the live audience.
Oh no!
Let's keep moving forward. Oh, these are all good.
Right, chat. All right.
What's up, chat?
Yeah, it's like let's keep moving forward, Jessie. Keep your head high and let your actions and hard work speak for themselves.
There you go.
Best regards from the commander of the Bears. There we go. Yeah, go Bears.
Go Bears.
Comandante El Oso. That's what it is. The AI ads were incredibly sexist.
Yes.
Yeah. Didn't David live in Garden Grove for a while too? Seriously. It's like your wife lives in Garden Grove as a councilwoman, and you're a council member in Santana. Something ain't checking out here. But it just gets into really like gutter politics, and that's part of the reason why people don't run for this, because it's like, do you really want to subject yourself and your family to the attack ads? And so this is kind of one of those things that we saw with before with Vince's race, with the Supervisor Sarmiento, with Manny Escamilla ran, like they had Comrade Manny mailers, him.
The hammer and sickle.
Yeah.
How dare Manny want to build affordable housing?
Subsidized housing.
We could have had Comrade Manny. Shout out Comrade Manny.
Woo!
Shout out.
Yeah, from Boston, Massachusetts to the fullest.
To Harvard.
Santana para el mundo. And of course, Benjamin, I was looking at the ads, or they were saying that he wanted to bring drugs to kids and stuff when he ran for mayor. I mean, it just gets really nasty, really, untrue, and they don't care, because they're willing to bank on and count on that the people are stupid, that they're not going to be able to see past it. But at some point, there's a limiting return on their investment. Right? They thought that they could just mail their way towards obliteration and to keep you out, and they weren't able to do that. But now, it remains that you're going on into the general. Now it's going to be 1v1, right? I'm sure that he is banking on being able to play coy with the Republican vote, right? And say like, hey guys, I'm a D, but don't let that, get in the way of a good time with me. I could be your Republican in sheep's clothing type of thing. But how do you see yourself going 1v1, versus, another Democrat in a place where, maybe you're going to have a new set of voters, but so will he potentially. So.
Yeah, I think so. It's really exciting again, right, the conditions were all in their favor. So much institutional support, the Democratic Party support, and then running in a primary where people are aware that not everybody actually is paying attention and turning out, right? These are the perfect conditions for you to win and to essentially win and to create, I think, the runoff that you want. And so we were able to say, absolutely not. Corporations are not going to dictate the politics of our city. They shouldn't dictate the politics of our states. And so that's why we're in this race. And so it's really exciting, I think, for us to be in this race headed to November and to understand that there's going to be a larger electorate that is going to participate, and for us to focus on the policies, because this is the guy that voted against grocery workers who needed a raise, right? And you're saying you want an affordable California, but you couldn't even give grocery workers a raise when you had the opportunity to help them out when they were struggling. And so again, there's just so much there that we can focus in terms of policy specifics. And that's what we're going to do.
Absolutely. One of the things that really was important for immigrant communities, at least here in Santa Ana, and of course, we're all immigrants to this state or to this nation, right? Like, this is indigenous land to the fullest. But of course, in Santa Ana, 80 or close to 80% Latino. Many of them are either mixed status families, but when it came down to who was protecting the communities and who was on the front lines and who was standing up with them and for against the ICE raids that really ravaged our communities a year ago, we can point to the pictures and the words and the actions that you took on the council when it came to standing up, and the omission, the absence of the mayor and the absence of your opponent was really glaring to see. So that being able to just share that with the communities, like Jessie stood with us, that really meant a lot to this community, and that's something that I as a formerly undocumented immigrant myself, I thank you, and I think a lot of folks really, when it came down to I don't know who it was, who stood with immigrant communities, it was Jessie, and that really won. So is that why do you feel so strongly about supporting immigrant communities?
Because I'm the proud daughter of immigrants myself. And, sometimes I'll ask my parents, how was that experience? And I'm sure that my experience of hearing those stories is not unique. It's very a painful experience of having to walk, having to get on a train, having to be in a new country that sometimes will deport you back, and you're trying to go to do that again because the conditions in some of these places are just really, really, I think, deeply, deeply heartbreaking. And so, for my mom to come here, for my dad to come here, and for them to be young people, they were super young, 19, 20. I think about what I was doing when I was 19, 20. There was just no way.
Yeah, they should be running around Newport Beach with Roman candles, shooting them at police. That's what. Anyway, that's what we should have our kids be doing. Anyway.
No, not shooting anyone.
You get my point. Yeah.
But I think for me it was never a doubt in my mind. I never had to be convinced, right? I never had to have the public pressure me into saying something or doing something because I recognize people's humanity. And if you're not able to do that as an elected, there's no way that you're able to consider other people. And that's what we saw play out. And I got a lot of heat from my colleagues. You know, I had a colleague that came into my office and told me, you're talking too much about this. Like, you're gonna draw attention to us. But what we already knew was that we were going to be a target simply because of who we are as a community. And so for me, it was about how can we best prepare ourselves for what is going to happen. And it was sad that he was one of the voices that didn't want to help the city prepared for that, for what we saw in the summer. Oh, yeah. And so for me, it has, this has never been a political talking point. This is my life. When we're talking about my parents' safety, it is not political, it is real. And I said it from the dais, what you try and come and separate us and you're going to watch what happens. And I don't think that they believed me.
Yeah. I'll never forget when the Black Lives Matter protests were happening in Santana. And rather than, going out like Supervisor Sarmiento did at the time, or I think he was mayor at the time, and you and other folks were out there in the streets in solidarity with this movement, after George Floyd was murdered. And he had nothing better to say than to call people animals. And, it was so bad that he even had to apologize, because even his friends was like, dude, like what are you doing, yikes, bro? Like, yeah, that's kind of like, tone deaf. Yeah, and tone deaf, and you're dehumanizing people by calling them animals. Like, so, and from that to recently when there was a whole soccer field situation where he was trying to, basically hook up his childhood coach into being and kicking a bunch to having control over the soccer fields, and kicking a lot of teams out. Like, this was just like a just out of touch individual that it has been an incredible tool for the powers that be on the local level, and he's going to be an incredible, greater tool if he has it, and his his puppeteers have it their way, at the state level. But that's why your election matters so much for this, because how many progressives do we have at the statewide level, right? So, you were taking a big risk by perhaps, leaving a city council, and people were like, no, please, Jessie, don't leave us. Why? Like, who's going to replace it? Big shoes to fill, perhaps unfillable, some would argue. But why do you feel it's so important for you to go take your movement to the state level?
Because we don't have time anymore. When I talk to people, especially living, in some of the areas of Anaheim that we door knocked, and the seniors, are literally crying, telling me, I've lived here 20 years, I lived here 30 years, and we get no support. And people telling me I just had hip surgery, I can't work. I actually need this health treatment, but I can't afford it, And so when someone tells you to your face that they know that they're dying simply because they can't afford healthcare, and in our states, it is not something that cannot be fixed. It is a policy choice. It comes down to political will. Will you have the courage? Will you have the moral compass? Will you have the ability to speak up for the people that are suffering in this district? And that is what we do not see enough of in the state legislature. Again, because of how influential these corporations are. And so they are very well represented at the state legislature. When are we going to get representation? And, again, what did we just see happen? The fourth largest economy be balanced on the backs of immigrants here who now have to pay higher healthcare premiums, right? And so these are the people that are contributing immensely to California, and yet they're not eligible to receive some of the same support, are being demonized, are being targeted, are having our civil rights being violated. And we need people that are not going to be afraid to speak up and to fight for policies that will protect them and support them.
That's awesome. Like, so, I mean, what are some of your ideas for the, like, medical? Can we do something with Medi-Cal, or, like, how can the state help on that level?
Yeah, I mean, that's a little bit, I think, tougher because of everything that's going on with HR1 and the federal policies, and now all of the new requirements that people are being subjected to do. And so, in speaking to folks from Cal Optima, different clinics here in the neighborhood, in the city, they're all really worried because they know that they're going to see a drop off in people coming in and getting the services that they need because they're going to be afraid, right? And so for us, I think that ensuring that every single Californian has access to healthcare and that healthcare isn't tied to your job, I think will be life-changing, right? There are many people that won't leave a job because they're afraid to not be insured. And so if other countries can do this, why can't California, the fourth largest economy, such an innovative, beautiful state, really, do this? Why can we have it, right?
We ought to have the money for that big of an economy, right? Yeah.
And so I think it really is about learning, because I've been told, well, there's no money,
We're not broke.
Again, I think it's a matter of political will and choice. What are the priorities that you want to fight for and fund that will actually change people's lives? Making sure that every single Californian has access to healthcare is one of them. And in the long term, that it'll save the state so much money, because one of the things that you're going to continue to see now is longer wait times in emergency rooms. We're hearing the hospitals are already closing. And so there are going to be these deserts where people are not necessarily going to have access to healthcare immediately, which is an issue. And it is going to contribute to so many other issues.
Oh, yeah, big time. One thing I did want to mention is that I always feel like the state government is like maybe the second most murky, or like I feel like the public's really out of touch with what's happening up there, and maybe the county's the first. But it just seems like is there something like, how can we get people interested or like being aware of these problems and how the state can, I'm just trying to figure out how can we, it's like, I feel like even the council is a lot sexier because it's like roots, like you're on the ground and on the front lines.
It's true. Yeah. One of the challenges with being able to share about you, it's like, well, what do they do?
Yeah.
They barely know their council member or their mayor, let alone their supervisor or their assembly person.
Right. No, totally. I mean, I just hosted a community office hours, and we were asking some of the residents that came to, do you know who your assembly member is? And they were like, no. Do you know who your, the senator is? And they were like, no, right? And so we are basically like the front line at the local level, right? They can pass a mandate up there, but we're going to be the ones that have to answer for that mandate. And so I think, it's very easy. And sometimes even here, people think that we get to tell the school board what to do. Like, people don't always understand that there are different governing bodies. You have your water boards, you have your school boards, you have your city council. The county is separate from the city council. Yeah. I can't tell the county supervisors how to vote, right? I can't tell the county CEO what to do. And so there's just a lot of, I think, education that needs to happen. And it is difficult. People are busy working. People have to, spend time with their kids. And so I think this is really a broader question to our organizations here and everybody involved. How do you help support the political education that needs to happen so that people can understand if I have an issue, with something that's on state land, right? Sure, you can contact us, but you should really be contacting your state representative that can move that much more quickly than we can. And so I think that there's still so much work that needs to happen, not just in Santana, but really abroad. And when campaigns happen, you really see, my gosh, there needs to be more education here.
That's true.
Yeah, it's like every opportunity that we get at the doors is a moment, and I tell it to folks that I work with and I train as it's like you're doing like a mini house visit, and hopefully after you're able to plant some seeds to politicize and help to to fight against the marginalization that happens with our community, because we're talking at them or over their heads, and we're not engaging them on the issues that they care about, and in ways that they understand. But I feel that at least your campaign has galvanized people to believe that something is possible, that we can take on, and I mean, you look at who came in with you, Jonathan Hernandez and Ty, but of course, Sarmiento as mayor. Like, all these things had to happen in order for us to get rent control. And and we're basically the envy of all the cities around us. They're just like, how did you do it? And how do we do it? It's like, well, you got to take on the special interests and win. But of course, you look at a city like Anaheim, and Jose Moreno was an army of one, and God bless his soul, friend of the show, El Primo. Like, he got burnt out quick, and they just really were made sure that the mouse. Jose Moreno, I want to make sure you sucker. But we've been able to do some amazing things because of leaders like yourself. But I mean, what is your, and I know that there's young women, mujeres, women of color that look to you as like, I can be like that. So what is your advice to folks that like see what you've done and be like, man, I could never do that, but she gives me hope.
I think it's honestly like one of the most beautiful things when people say that to me, because I think it's why I ran to begin with. And I would say to young people that, being hopeful is all about being patient, as I've come to find out. Because we're not always going to win. We're not always going to have, the fourth or the fifth vote needed to actually cement policy or block policy that is very harmful. However, we keep going, right? We keep going because we understand that I can't just roll over and not fight for my own future, because this is what this campaign is about. It is our future. It is about the future of Californians. And are we going to continue to allow corporations to dictate policy, to set the policy, right? Even when we were told here at the local level, you better not vote for rent control because the sky is going to fall. It didn't. It actually helped keep people housed. It helped protect the seniors of our community. It helped protect the students of our public school districts. And so sometimes change can be very scary to people, like it can be to myself. But if we're not willing to try new things, then we're never going to know. And we're never really going to give Californians the ability to live out their lives in a fruitful way. That is not just about stress and, living paycheck to paycheck, which is the reality of 8068.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys brought up the rent stabilization, because, I was talking about politicians who said they would do things and then delivered on them. I think you're one of them, because you have a few very impressive victories in your career. One, like, for instance, like the Police Oversight Commission, Jose, you mentioned the Immigration Defense Fund, rent stabilization. Like, so, maybe kind of going back, you kind of touch on this a little bit, but like, I see these as very progressive and strong policies. Like, you have principles and values to stand by, but I'm wondering, like, what do you do when a constituent that reaches out to you? Have your constituents reach out to you and said, I don't like what you're doing?
Yeah, of course, right? Like, everybody thinks differently. It's my job to hear them out and to try and explain it as best I can. And sometimes we're able to change people's minds, and sometimes we're not. But at the end of the day, my role on the city council is to fight and vote for the policies I believe are going to change the material conditions of my community. And that's what I've done. I'm the councilwoman, the champion, the ordinance to rein in the smoke shops in our community, right? To ban, I think it's the laughing gas, right?
Okay.
Very harmful things to the brains of developing young people. I'm the councilwoman that actually goes out and cleans up my local park. Nobody else does that, right? So much so that we won our city the state's Clean California designation, not because I talk about things, but because I actually do it in the scorching sun. I partner with organizations. And so for us, it's really important to, I think the biggest mistake that any elected can do is to betray the people that support them. And I don't ever want to be that elected that promises something and then says, never mind, I'm too scared now to deliver. And so because I also know what it's like to believe in someone. I think John Fetterman is actually a perfect example of this. What a POS, right? But I remember supporting him from afar. He's in Pennsylvania, I'm in California, and I believed so much. And I was so happy when he won. And look at who he is now, right? All because of money and greed and power. And so I just never want to be that person that does that to my community.
No. Yeah, none of us do want you to do that either. Definitely. I mean, it's a rare quality.
You guys would roast me to hell and back. Yeah. I know it.
It would be too painful.
I mean, when do I not? I have to pay the price.
Like my membership to Team JLo.
Yeah. No. Yeah. You had all these like hashtag Team JLo and Yesy for Jessie and all your stuff had to be torn up.
So it's. Yeah, you're right. You know what? Actually, a local example of that was actually Miguel Pulido. Before he went to the dark side, he was a community champion that was, taking on, the white establishment that was, the leadership in Santana for many years, and through a upswell of support because he was a little business owner that was taking on, the powers that be. He got into council. From what I understand, Supervisor Sarmiento was, part of, that was his first canvassing job. He was like, yeah, go. And everybody was, really supporting him. But then slowly but surely, he just started becoming, it's like the ring of like Lord of the Rings. We mustn't have it. Yeah.
The impersonations tonight are
well, we got it.
They must take it from us. This is the habit.
All right. Yeah. So anyway, power corrupts, as they say.
Yeah.
And absolute power corrupts absolutely. So how do we know power is not corrupt?
We know. We got to keep bugging you.
No, it's a great question.
No, but I mean, you know what? Yeah, you have a team around you, right? You have trusted advisors and friends and, compañeras and compañeros so that, just really kind of keep you humble and keep you grounded, right? That's important. But not everybody has that, but you do, right? So, and then, but if you're going to leave us and go to the state capitol, like, how are we going to be able to protect you there?
At the state and the assembly, I think first of all, like, I love my team. Thank you, Team JLo, for everything that you do. And they really do. Like, they will have very difficult conversations with me. And I always have to remind myself, like, I don't know everything. Like today, right, there was like an issue that came up and I was like, okay, I need a soundboard. And so I was like, hey team, I have a question, and so I think it's really good to stay grounded. And I jokingly say, like the young staffer of my office, like, keeps me humble. But, they remind me, like, times change. I grew up in a different moment than they have come up. And so I think it's really important to always be surrounded by people that are going to be different from you, that are going to think differently from you, and that are going to have real knowledge that they can actually share with you. Because the moment that you lose sight of why you're even doing this, or the moment that you think, I don't need anyone, is the moment that who are you really doing this for, if not just yourself? And so my team really, really, I think, has helped, help guide me in a lot of very difficult and stressful situations.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer. And I think, if you keep to this spirit of the good customer service, staying grounded, responding to because I totally agree with that. When, like, someone is responsive and respectful, that goes a long way versus being ignored. You know what I mean? So, like, even, and like, So I only brought up that thing about anyone disagreeing with you because I just think you're just running in a really interesting race, and I feel like you have the capacity to get this people power that your opponent can't do. Right. And it's evident from like the work you do, the policies you push, the people that are like contributing and volunteering for your campaign. And it's not a question. I'm just stating something, I guess. That I just say keep on.
It's refreshing.
Yeah, just keep.
Because it is like it's not common. You know, it is kind of an exception to the rule when it comes to people like. It's like somebody said the other day, or Supervisor Smith, he's like, running is easy if you're willing to take money from all the special interests, it's easy to sell out. It's really hard to actually stand on business and not take all this money and be able to, to run on it. So
it's really true. I agree with the supervisor. I remember when I first ran in 2020 and I was calling people for money and they're like, I don't know when I'm going to be able to give you money. I just got laid off. I'm not working right because of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And the same thing, it's really difficult to call working people to donate to a campaign and and it's a gamble. Yeah. Like, how do I know you're going to win or not? But they're so generous because they so deeply believe in the vision that we're presenting for California. And it's easy, as you said, to just take money from anyone, right? It's much harder to actually say, these are the things I want to accomplish. And if I actually want to be an independent voice, then I can't be influenced by this money, right? Because it makes voting that much harder. Oh, yeah. And so I think it's one of the great, messages, right? That they spent over $5 million, but they cannot buy true, authentic community support. Mm-hmm. You can co-opt progressive messaging as we're seeing it happen in real time. All of a sudden, you support rent control.
All of a sudden.
Yeah.
But you
These
can't buy community support.
That's right.
Exactly.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a really amazing conversation, and first of all, I'm sorry I didn't have you here earlier. I don't know why.
You're good.
I must have been my fault.
We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Blame Dylan.
I know. Yeah, when in doubt.
The grudge.
Oh, blame the white guy. All right.
Never mind. We'll blame Dresden.
This is it's all me. It's been a long time coming, and it's just really great to connect with you and to have folks listen to you because the campaign season is one thing, and there's just only so much that you can share when you're trying to do all the things. But of course, you also take the time to to connect with the constituents and this and that. But there's only so much that you can actually delve into to explain who you are as a person, your story, and so I really felt important for you to have this time to share. But the last thing I want to just end with is there's going to be some important races here in the city. So and I mean I can think of one in particular, Isuri Ramos.
Oh yes.
Who's like running, against somebody. Johnny Come Lately, I call him.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like, how I know you don't go here? I've never seen you drunk in downtown Santana.
It's like he's learning about Santana in real time, right? And then sharing it.
Yeah, like some people want to be influencers, and some people are actually, born and raised and stood on business. And that's
Isuri.
That's Isuri, right? So like, what do you think about her chances, like in her race?
Well, first of all, I'm supporting wholeheartedly Isuri Ramos because she didn't just move into the district to run for this seat. She's been here. She's born and raised in the community, has done a lot of work to represent not just renters, but a lot of great work in supporting good health outcomes for the city and in the diverse roles that she's done. And I think that she is going to be someone that is deeply needed on the city council. Because of the technical expertise, she's incredibly smart. And I also think that, her voice is needed up there because I'm a young woman that is possibly leaving. And so we need another young woman on the council. I think parity is really important. I think that type of representation is important and needed, right? One of the earlier questions was about the young women who will reach out and say thank you or whatnot. And so it's really important for the young Latinas of our communities to see themselves represented in every corner of the world. And I think that Isuri is going to do right by her community, which is why I support her. And I think that she is going to represent our community overall with so much integrity, so much, I think, commitment. And I know that she has the work ethic to do what this role really requires of someone that actually wants to be an effective policymaker.
All right.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's a
good endorsement.
great endorsement as much as one could hope for. Yeah, no, we had her on the show recently, and yeah, it was also great. And I learned a lot about her, and I was like, I worked with her. I've known her for years.
She's been around for
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, she was like a teenager working and pushing policy.
Yeah.
You know, she is deeply embedded and known and honestly respected in the community.
Yeah. No, so it's a type of leadership that we need and want to continue to have. And if the political gods are on our side, and we have you as a champion at the assembly level, yeah, we'll have big shoes to fill on your district. But at least we can count on somebody like Isuri Ramos to continue in that, not just the identity politics aspect of it, because that's where the Democratic establishment gets us. It's like, oh well, just checking a box, right? Like, if you're. But it's not about that. It's about, are you standing on the principles and the values, that matter? And it's beyond labels of a progressive or this or, Democratic this or that. Like, it's about, like, where are you? Are you on the pockets of the special interests, or are you truly trying to represent the community?
Yeah.
So, and that's the choice that folks are going to have in November, right?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest differences. She actually understands this city, right? Because she's lived here.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think that is one of the biggest assets that you can bring into office.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know you're supporting the council member Benjamin Vasquez for re-election.
Teacher Vasquez.
Yeah. Don Ben, people's mayor forever.
I know.
Yeah. Having a good time over there in Mexico, I've heard. Yeah. Woo! Yeah. So yeah, well-deserved rest. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of work to do for you
There's
and
gonna
for
be a lot of work,
him and
dude.
for other folks on the school board, of course.
Yeah.
Hector Bustos and Katie Brazier. So yeah.
Yes.
So
And there is no shortage of, opportunity for members of the community to get involved. If you actually want to see, better representation, more effective representation, this is your opportunity. Get involved. Reach out to Isuri. Reach out to the folks running down ballot races. Reach out to our team. We ultimately cannot do this alone. We face $5 million in corporate spending. We're probably going to face $10 million in November. You're going to see more lies about me, more hate towards me, and you can help us overcome that and fight for an affordable California.
And where can they help you, Ms. Lopez?
Oh, check out our website, votejessielopez.com, and then there's a tab there that people can sign up to volunteer. If not, they can email our team at contact@votejessielopez.com.
And donate, of course.
And donate. You can be a monthly donor, $1, $5. It really, really all helps.
Yeah, it takes a village.
Yeah.
Yeah, as we say.
It really does.
Takes a village. You got people power and money power. Let's get both.
Both.
And then let's get money out of politics.
Yeah, afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Big time.
Bigly. Well, Councilwoman Lopez, it's been a pleasure.
Thank
once
you.
again.
Thank you
Thanks
for the
being on the
opportunity.
show.
Oh yeah. Thanks for coming.
We will be having you back after November to talk about your glaring victory.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
There you go.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Yes.
Yes. To all my peoples, MENA, Middle Eastern folks, in solidarity to the
Habibis.
fullest. Yeah. Yeah.
Habibis.
That's right. Yeah. So it's been a great show.
Indeed. Yeah. I'm more awake now after this invigorating conversation.
That's right. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
But now I have to go to sleep. So it's,
I gotta wind
No.
down.
You're gonna go to votejessielopez.com and sign up to be a volunteer.
there
Dylan,
you go. Get
because-
some of that energy out.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm so excited. I want to do another show. Let's do one
There you
again
go.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just talk some more.
Yeah. It's like, man, this is getting late here.
No, I need to go home and sleep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're-
No.
We had a lot of fun in downtown last night.
Oh yeah.
We did.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I was hearing it.
Yeah, and before I forget, what was one thing that struck me is when you posted that video saying like a year ago we were fighting, and defending our community against the ICE raids and and the ICE agents that were kidnapping and taking our community, and a year later, we're celebrating, being Mexican and out, with our community, and it just. And a lot of things had to happen, and we're not out of danger by any means, and folks like
Raids are still
Santa de
happening.
Anda and with Orange County Rapid Response Network and other folks can attest to that we're still not out of the clear, but it's been a lot more quieter in the ways that they do it. But our communities are still at risk right now. But we've come a long way, and hopefully in November we can go even further to do much more to stop and to get back to some sort of normalcy. Right?
And your point is really important. Everybody's celebrating the World Cup, but people are still being taken. ICE is still present in our community, and immigration court is still crowded. So if anyone can get involved, please do so.
Indeed.
Pick a fight, any fight. There's many fronts in the fight for a better world. Pick up a shovel and help us dig out of this hole, or
Indeed.
just bring us some refreshments and some, but do something.
Do something.
Bring a beer or something, but help us ease make this burden less for us, because if more of us kind of pick a role in this fight for a better world, this movement that we're trying to be a part of. I was talking to somebody the other day about it's like why take a risk? It's like well, first of all, life's a risk, carnal. So if you know, but number two. As a progressive, as somebody that is trying to, to challenge the status quo, we're dreaming of a better world. It's all about risk. Yeah, it's easy to just kind of coast through life, but if we really want to fight for the things that are worth fighting for, we do have to take calculated risk, but risks nonetheless. And it takes
courage.
courageous individuals
Too true.
like Jessie and so many other folks that are out there on the front lines and defending our community in all sorts of ways. So. Do that. Let's do that. And we're doing that here in small ways and big ways here on the ITZ Happenin show. 10 years in the making.
Oh my God, congratulations.
222 episodes.
There
It's
you
a
go.
lucky number with you.
Lucky
today.
twos.
222.
2-2.
Yeah. So shout out to all of the homies that are watching us. We're gonna wave
Shout out.
the flag
Yeah.
proudly. And thank you so much to everybody that watched for the first time. Please share, comment, follow our page. We're gonna have shows coming up soon, I hope.
This year.
This year, eventually.
Who are you guys going to invite next?
I know that's gonna be a good question.
That's the teaser. For
Yeah. So if you have anybody in mind that you think of, please drop it in the chat, or send us a message. Yeah, we'd love to have you. Or just tell Jessie to tell us, and then we'll do what she says. No, I think we really have to get Supervisor Sarmiento in here because
That's right.
That should be good. Yeah,
it's
been a long
while.
time.
We've had him on, several times. I remember the good old days when we had him. I think during COVID we had the remote shows.
It's been a while.
Yeah, but
He should do a victory lap the
Yeah.
whole time.
we'll bring him and his son Diego.
He's still doing a victory lap, by the way.
No.
Honestly, so well deserved. That was like a great.
It's a landslide.
Yeah, no, that was landslide. Yeah, it was a warning shot. Like, y'all better watch out, y'all. We got a mandate here. Woo! It's happening. All right. So shout out to the soup and all of the cool kids out there doing the Lord's work at the government level in all walks of life. But if you're against that, then the shout out's not for you. You suck.
No.
You know who I'm talking about. Those that would call us mafias and stuff. God, I hate those people. Yeah. It's like,
You know what?
those
Disclaimer. Joyce's statements do not represent my views. I should have done it at the beginning.
Let's be clear about that.
Yeah. We forgot to do the disclaimer. The thoughts and opinions of
Joyce and Dylan.
Yeah, do
Dylan
not
Thompson
apply.
do not represent
Grand Central Arts.
Yeah,
Okay.
Jessie Lopez or any folks affiliated. No, but anyways, yeah. Mafias. God, stupid.
Do we have a special dedication for the show today?
We do. Yeah, I want to give a shout out and send all of our love and our healing and our positive energy to Scott Celtic Knott, a friend of the show. He is going, he's shared as much publicly, going through a bout with cancer. So I really, have him in my thoughts and my prayers.
Indeed.
And, he's a fighter in so many ways for so many years. He's just a staple of the Santana activist community. I have learned so much from him from our days on May Day and stuff. Been on the show many times too in the early days. So, and has amazing music out there. So, go check out Scott Celtic Knott's music. Put that thing on blast and turn off the sprinklers. Yeah, heck yeah.
Yep.
So, shout out to Hemisphere as
shout
well.
out, yes.
I want to thank our studio audience of one.
Woo!
Leah,
Love it.
and then of course to the Team J locals, maybe watching or will watch in the future.
Oh, I like it. Team J
Los J
Locals.
Locos.
Team J Locos,
Oh,
that's
okay.
what we are. Team J Locos for life.
Hey.
Osi Rifa.
Every vote matters.
That's right.
There you go.
Yeah. We got the bato.
I like that
bato
one.
vote on
You
lock.
need to make a bunch of shirts. And
That's going to be a hashtag.
That's right. Make it happen.
Yeah.
I want to thank audio video engineer Edgar Silva for holding it down and just working here to set up and stressing about our signal and whether or not we were going to have enough juice,
making it happen.
the Wi-Fi to make it happen.
Hitting them buttons.
But he made it happen. So thank you, good sir. And I want to thank Dylan Thompson for putting it down, getting us ready for this here show.
Thank you, buddy.
And being my trusted comrade in this here fight all these years. So from all of us, from Dylan Thompson and Jose Gloria and all of us here on It's Happening, we are signing off.
Good night.
It's happening.